Minister, we discussed this at considerable length at committee, but I would like to give it one last airing. And this relates to the Section 481 film tax relief. And I would like to read it into the record, just so it's clear what we're trying to do here. That within 3 months of the passing of this Act, the Minister shall produce a report on amending the guidelines in relation to Section 481 film tax relief to clearly define the requirement for producer companies in receipt of the relief to be the legally responsible employer for all those working on film productions funded by the relief, as against the DAC, which only has a temporary existence, the DAC being the Designated Activity Company. And further, to guarantee the full vindication of workers' rights under the Protection of Employees Fixed Term Work Act 2003, and further ensure genuinely equitable remuneration for performers and actors in relation to their intellectual property rights and full compliance with the EU Copyright Directive. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, because it is critical that if we are giving out €100 million in state aid to the arts, in this case, very specifically, to the film industry, that it is in compliance with the law. Not just with our national law, but also with European directives. And I say that, and I always want to predicate everything I say that as somebody who wants to see that much money and more go into Irish film and into arts and culture. I was one of the few people who noted that the arts and culture budget was actually cut marginally this year and condemned that fact. We need to put more money into arts and culture because we have an absolutely fantastic pool of creative people in this country. We have a tremendous tradition and reputation in all of the arts: poetry, music, theatre, dance, acting, film, you name it. Okay, and I want to see more. But I am deeply concerned that we are not vindicating the rights of stage crew, film crew, who work in the Irish film industry, particularly in the live action area of Irish film, or the performers, the writers, the actors, the dancers, that we are not vindicating their rights, and in failing to do so, we are not complying with the requirement to ensure that their rights are upheld and that certain things are achieved when you give state aid to the film industry. Now, I appreciate that the Minister has agreed, following our lengthy discussion, to have some of his officials meet some of, let's call them the contrarians, the people who are critical of the way the current structure of 481 is operating, and I genuinely appreciate that. But I want to ask the Minister to just understand that it's a very, very serious thing if we are required to comply with the Fixed Term Workers Act, and then for the people who receive Section 481, the film producers who get it, to tell us and to tell you that such compliance is impossible. And after looking back at the transcripts of both what SPI said at the Budget Scrutiny Committee, what has been alleged by groups like the Irish Film Workers Association, and what in effect was accepted by you, is you said, well, you know, maybe we could sort these things out through discussion and negotiation. I thought, well, yeah, maybe. And then I thought, no, actually, I mean, while discussions are welcome, there's nothing to be discussed when it comes to compliance with the law. And I want you to consider that, and I'd like you to make me a commitment. If there is a serious allegation being made that we are not in compliance with the Fixed Term Workers Act, i.e. the recipients of Section 481 aren't, and have stated they cannot be because of the DAC structure, that it can't be, that it is not possible for somebody to acquire a contract of indefinite duration through the operation of law under the Fixed Term Workers Act. That's what they have said. because the DAC does not survive, the project does not survive longer than 18 months. So you have said, and you've echoed what they're telling you, it's not possible. But it has to be possible because it's in EU law. And it is in the declaration they sign. So there's something very seriously problematic if you're saying the most fundamental protection for people on fixed-term contracts. I mean, I'm looking in front of me, I've got time to quote them, just 2 cases that have gone to the WRC. One person had 57 fixed-term contracts and has never got a contract of indefinite duration, even though under the Fixed-Term Workers Directive and the law, they are required to. Another one, 26. Because the people you give the money to go into the Labour Court and say, I could have no employment relationship with these people, even though I set up the DAC for the film on which they were employed. In some cases 26 times, or 57 times, or whatever it might be, over decades. The whole point of the fixed term workers legislation is to protect workers in that situation. That's the whole point of it. If it can't apply, there's a serious problem with the form of state aid we are giving, which is specifically designed to create an industry and to create a permanent pool, and I'm quoting more or less from the directive, a permanent pool of skills. In 30 seconds, I haven't got time to mention then the performers, other than to say, they say their intellectual property is essentially being taken off them with buyout contracts, which again the copyright directives require are the exception, not the rule. That's what the directives require. Yet in Irish contracts given by producers that you give section 4812, they are requiring performers and actors to sign away their intellectual property rights, which under the copyright directive they're not allowed to do. Not allowed to do. So I would ask the Minister to respond, and I would ask if there's any uncertainty about these things, I would ask genuinely for you to write to the European Commission and ask for clarification on these matters.
Deputy Doherty.